Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Returns to Africa. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We finally got out of the Kalahari Desert, and we are now up in the northern part of Botswana and into paradise. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Okavango Delta, the world's largest inland delta, and something that seems like it just should not exist. Yet it does. And it's here during our time in the Okavango where we're going to meet up with some different kinds of animals. By starting off, of course, with one of the most dangerous animals in all of Africa. Meet the hippopotamus, or known by their Latin name of Hippopotamus amphibius. Well, apparently this one was saying welcome. Now, obviously this is one, for all nature lovers out there and those who have been to Africa, this is probably one of those animals that you're dying to get a good photo of. But make no mistake, these guys are one of the, as I've said, they are one of the most dangerous of all animals in Africa. And we're going to uncover how nature really shaped these guys into the animals that we know today. But before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have a question about animals, or if there's an animal that you want me to do in the future, you just have to send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in the description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. Now, it may surprise you, but the hippo is actually more related to whales and dolphins. That's right. It's said that these two animals, whales and dolphins in general, or as we know them as cetaceans, they evolved from an extinct family group called Anthracotheres, which were basically semi-aquatic mammals that were said to have appeared around the Miocene epoch. Molecular studies, at least modern molecular studies, show that the hippo's closest living cousins had a common ancestor with the ones that would eventually evolve into whales and dolphins around 55 million years ago. This is known as a lineage called Whippomorpha. Try saying that 7 times fast. Now, of course, these two share very similar traits where they give birth in the water, and they have a kind of hairlessness. Now, hippos come in two kinds. The common hippo, which the animal that we're focusing on today, and the pygmy hippo, which you would find in the Congo region. And we will cover their lives at a later time. Now, their habitat, their lifestyle, and their reproduction, it all shapes them to be one of the toughest animals. The hippo's life is all about finding water to keep themselves submerged during the day and coming out at night to feed. Generally, at night when they're feeding, they're solitary animals. But in the water, they are highly social animals. But now, despite looking like that they're a family group, which they can form these pods, which are often sometimes called bloats, they do not really have any close bondage. Like, they really don't seem to be looking out for one another. It's every member for themselves. And as a result, this is hard, especially when it gets into the dry season. See, during the dry season, as we know, the water shrinks. Pools dry up, rivers start to shrink lower, and as a result, you need to find ways to survive. And for the hippo, it's extra hard, especially with the burning African sun on their back. So males generally will try and find big pools to maintain and as a way to impress the ladies. But it's not easy. He has to keep his energy up to defend his right by keeping other males in line. Now, if a male doesn't want to fight and just wants to survive, the dominant bull will allow that male to stay, but as long as they acknowledge and they submit to the dominant bull. Of course, fights will occasionally break out, and some fights can last for a long time. It's thought that the longest hippo fight recorded on record lasted up to 7 hours. 7 hours of brawling. But this is all good because the more females you can impress, the better the chances are for breeding to take place. Now, after a gestation period of around 8 months or so, mom gives birth in the water to a single calf. Now, I think, of course, maybe one baby is enough, especially when it weighs at 50 pounds to even 110 pounds at birth or more. So for the next half a year, baby will suckle from mom, and mom takes the crown in a way for being one of the most protective of her, being the most protective animal of her baby. Nobody gets close to a baby hippo. Not even other hippos. They do not like anybody else getting too close. So this really is prompting an axiom of Africa. Never come between a hippo and its baby or its territorial waters. Now, their diet seems simple enough, right? They feed on grass mostly. In fact, it's said that they are thought to eat around 80 pounds of grass a night when they come out of it. However, if the conditions are good enough, they can also eat during the day. But 80 pounds of grass, and of course aquatic plants such as reeds and water lilies. Now, the hippo has a very big stomach to be able to help, grind all that tough plant material, as well as their teeth, as well as their tusk-like teeth, and their intestines are so big or so long that actually allows them to absorb as much nutrients from the plants that they eat. And now, I would like to warn you, this might shock everybody, but believe it or not, hippos have also been seen to eat meat. But now, this is not a result of hunting. This is more of a result of finding a carcass. They may be herbivores, but some herbivores, as we now know, will go for a little bit of meat to supplement their diet. And for a hippo's case, when they do, nobody or anything is going to get in their way. Not even these crocodiles that are on this bank with these two hippos. Even the crocodiles need to be afraid of the hippo because they can cut them or even us humans in half with just a single bite, thanks to those tusk-like teeth. Yeah, no, don't ask me to put their head in their mouth. I'm not doing that today. Finally, we're going to end part 1's episode today with their influence in human culture. Now, I understand that they are dangerous animals, killing around 500 people a year, but we're going to skip that for a little bit and look at some of the more positive and a little more influential part, however hard that might sound and may be. Now, the Egyptians highly regarded hippos. They were hunted by pharaohs and princes, while they were also worshipped as gods. Some hippos were in terms of male gods. They were seen with part of Set, of the god Set, while for women, the goddess Tuaret was seen as the goddess of fertility and mother and care. In fact, the very first hippo, since these guys are very famous zoo animals, they were even featured. The first captive hippo was even featured back in 3500 BC in Heracleopolis, Egypt. Though the first modern hippo in a zoo was the famous oasis, who first arrived at London Zoo on May 25th, 1850, where he actually attracted 10,000 visitors a day and even kind of helped invent the hippopotamus polka. And believe it or not, the state of Louisiana almost had a plan to originally introduce hippos and come up with the idea of hippo ranching. Of course, that did not go through, and I can tell you it's a good thing because hippos are already problematic enough in other places. Join me this Wednesday for a little Safari Mack Special on hippos in an area where they shouldn't belong. But until next time, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.